Picture this. 3 modern hikers with the best gear money can buy stand trapped in deep Vermont snow. Their expensive aluminum snowshoes sink 6 inches with every step. Meanwhile, 300 years ago, an Abenaki hunter could travel 25 miles in the same conditions, walking on top of powder so deep it would swallow a modern backpacker whole. Amazing. Fact. While modern snowshoes fight against the snow, traditional Abenaki designs worked with nature's laws. The secret wasn't in fighting the cold, it was in understanding how to dance with winter itself. Go back to the frozen forests of New England, steam rises from your breath in the -20 degrees Fahrenheit air. Snow-heavy spruce branches bend toward the earth under their white burden. The wind whispers through bare maple trees like ancient voices, sharing secrets. In this harsh world, skilled Abenaki hands shape curved ashwood beside a crackling fire. Strong fingers weave strips of deer hide through wooden frames, creating tools that would mean the difference between life and death. The Abenaki nation, the W8 Benaki, meaning people of the dawn, called this challenging land home for thousands of years. Their territory stretched across what we now call Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. These weren't just any winters they faced. We're talking about places that regularly see 150 inches of snow each year. Temperatures that drop to -40 degrees Fahrenheit and stay there for weeks. Conditions that would stop modern outdoor experts in their tracks. Modern military use. Here's what will shock you. The US military still teaches snowshoe construction in cold weather training. Not because it's old-fashioned, but because when your life depends on it, traditional knowledge often beats modern technology. Watch those ancient hands work. See how they test each piece of ash wood for strength. Feel the rough texture of the bark as they strip it away. Smell the wood smoke mixing with the crisp winter air. These weren't just tools being made. This was survival technology refined over thousands of years of brutal winters. Every child in an Abenaki community learned this skill, not as a hobby, but as a life or death necessity. When winter storms could trap families for weeks, when hunting meant travelling miles through snow deeper than a person's height, these traditional snowshoes became as essential as fire itself. The frames they created weren't random shapes. Each curve, each measurement, each weaving pattern served a specific purpose. The traditional teardrop design distributed weight so perfectly that a full-grown adult could walk across snow that would trap them without snowshoes. The ashwood provided strength without weight. The rawhide webbing created a platform that flexed with each step but never broke. Expert truth. Dave Marone, a wilderness guide who specialises in winter travel, puts it simply: traditional snowshoes are lighter, more comfortable, and have better float than modern versions. They don't slip into the snow like modern aluminum frames do. Modern outdoor experts are rediscovering what the Abenaki never forgot. Backcountry skiers seek out traditional designs for deep powder conditions. Winter survivalists learn ashwood bending techniques. Emergency responders study traditional binding methods that won't fail in extreme cold. Even military personnel training for Arctic conditions examine how indigenous peoples mastered winter travel centuries before modern equipment existed. But here's what makes this knowledge truly powerful. You can learn it too. The same materials the Abenaki used still grow in forests across the Northeast. The same principles that kept their families alive through harsh winters can enhance your outdoor adventures today. The same techniques that allowed hunters to track game through deep snow can give you confidence in winter conditions. Today you're all going to discover the complete traditional method. We'll start with selecting the right ashwood, not just any piece will work. You'll learn how to steam and bend it into the perfect frame shape. We'll cover preparing rawhide strips that create the webbing strong enough to support your weight mile after mile. You'll master the specific weaving patterns that prevented catastrophic failures in life or death situations. This isn't just historical curiosity. This is practical knowledge that works as well today as it did 300 years ago. Emergency construction techniques using materials you can find in any northeastern forest. Binding methods that adapt to different snow conditions. Repair tricks that kept travellers moving when equipment failed miles from help. You'll understand why ashwood was chosen over dozens of other tree species, how the traditional proportions related to body weight and travel distance, why specific knot patterns prevented the failures that could strand someone in deadly conditions, the seasonal timing that determined when materials were gathered and prepared. Today's applications, Right now, wilderness schools across North America teach these exact construction methods. Students pay thousands of dollars to learn skills that Abenaki children mastered by age 10. Picture yourself next winter, confidently moving through deep snow on snowshoes you built with your own hands, using techniques passed down through generations of people who live completely connected to winter's rhythms, carrying forward knowledge that enabled human survival in some of Earth's most challenging conditions. The snow crunches under your feet with that perfect sound that means you're walking on top instead of sinking through. Your pace is steady and strong. The winter forest that stops others becomes your highway. This is the power of traditional knowledge applied with modern understanding. But to understand why Abenaki snowshoes worked so perfectly, we need to journey back to the harsh winters that forged this ingenious survival technology. Go back to the early 1700s. Picture vast forests of Georgia and Alabama where the Creek people, a powerful confederation of 60 towns and nearly 20,000 people, lived in harmony with the land. These skilled farmers, hunters and builders had perfected their way of life over thousands of years. But change was coming fast. European settlers pushed deeper into Creek territory. Wars broke out between different tribes. The old ways were under attack. Some Creek families made a hard choice. They would leave their ancestral homeland and seek peace in the wildlands of Spanish Florida. After the US Army drove them into the deadliest swamps in America, they had to innovate or die. What happened next created the most hurricane-resistant architecture ever built by human hands. Watch as small groups of Creek families pack their few belongings. They are heading south into a land most people call impossible to live in, the Florida Everglades. Spanish explorers called this place River of Grass. Native people who already lived there warned the newcomers about endless dangers: alligators, panthers, poisonous snakes, disease-carrying mosquitoes, and hurricanes that could kill entire villages. These Creek refugees didn't know they were about to become the Seminole people. The Spanish word cimarron meant wild, or free. Other tribes started using this word to describe the Creek people who chose the dangerous freedom of the swamps over the safety of staying put. Feel what it's like to enter the Everglades for the first time. Endless sawgrass stretches to every horizon. Dark water hides deadly creatures. The air is so thick with humidity you can almost drink it. Clouds of mosquitoes attack anything that moves. Most people would turn around and leave. The Creek refugees kept going deeper. By the 1750s, these hardy pioneers had learned to survive in the swamps. They found high ground on the tree islands, small patches of dry land surrounded by water and sawgrass. They learned which plants were safe to eat and which ones would kill you. They figured out how to catch fish, hunt deer, and avoid the alligators that could snap a canoe in Motau. Hurricane season meant 6 months of potential death. Every structure had to be perfect. One mistake in building and your whole family could die when the next storm hit. There was no room for error in the Everglades. But the Seminole people's biggest challenges were yet to come. The United States wanted Florida, and they wanted the Seminole people gone. 3 brutal wars followed. The First Seminole War, 1817 to 1818. The Second Seminole War, 1835 to 1842. And the Third Seminole War, 1855 to 1858. See the moment that changed everything. General Andrew Jackson led American troops deep into Florida. His orders were simple: remove all native people by force if necessary. But the Seminole people had nowhere else to go. Spain couldn't protect them. Other tribes couldn't help them. The only choice was to fight or disappear. Watch as Seminole families flee deeper into the Everglades after each battle. By 1838, the battles of Okeechobee and Loxahatchee forced thousands to retreat into the most remote parts of the swamp, places so dangerous that even the US Army wouldn't follow. This is where innovation became survival. The old Creek way of building permanent towns with solid log houses wouldn't work anymore. Seminole families had to move constantly to avoid army patrols. They needed shelters that could be built fast, abandoned quickly. Enter firelit workshops where master craftspeople taught essential skills. Children as young as 6 began learning to select good ash wood. By age 10, they could weave basic snowshoe webbing. By 15, they were creating their own pairs. Their survival depended on this knowledge. Cultural depth. Every child learned snowshoe construction by age 10 because their mice depended on it. There were no second chances in winter survival. master the skills, or risk dying when equipment failed miles from help. The knowledge transmission system was incredibly thorough. Elders didn't just show techniques once, they created structured learning that built skills over years. Young people practiced on scraps before touching materials meant for real snowshoes. They learned to feel wood quality with their fingers, to judge rawhide strength by touch. Different families specialised in different aspects of construction. One family might be known for the best frame bending, another for superior webbing patterns, yet another for bindings that never failed. This specialisation meant the entire community benefited from the highest quality techniques. Archaeological evidence shows us how long this knowledge has been developing. Ancient sites across the Northeast reveal wooden fragments, tool marks, and other evidence of sophisticated winter equipment. The Hudson Museum at the University of Maine preserves traditional Abenaki snowshoes that demonstrate construction techniques refined over centuries. The National Museum of the American Indian houses 2 sets of Abenaki-made snowshoes showing the incredible craftsmanship these communities achieved. The Vermont Historical Society recently acquired a pair from the Abenaki Cultural Center, connecting past techniques with present preservation efforts. Modern research validates what the Abenaki always knew: their seasonal strategies work brilliantly. Cambridge University studies of indigenous winter knowledge show how Abenaki families planned entire years around winter survival. They developed backup plans for their backup plans, food storage systems scattered across their territory, emergency shelter locations marked but hidden, tool caches placed along travel routes, repair materials pre-positioned where equipment might fail. This level of planning required generations to perfect. The oral tradition carried this knowledge forward with remarkable accuracy. Stories weren't just entertainment. They were educational tools that taught survival skills. A tale about a hunter lost in a blizzard might contain precise information about emergency shelter construction. A legend about winter spirits could include detailed instructions for reading weather signs. Today, contemporary Abenaki knowledge keepers work to preserve these traditions. The Abenaki Arts and Education Center maintains educational resources that teach traditional knowledge to new generations. Cultural preservation programs document techniques before they're lost forever. Museums across New England house collections that tell this story. But the real knowledge lives in communities where elders still remember the old ways, where skilled hands can still demonstrate techniques their grandparents learned as children. Watch modern Abenaki craftspeople work with traditional materials. See how they test ash wood the same way their ancestors did centuries ago. Feel the connection between past and present as ancient knowledge guides contemporary hands. The environmental pressures that shaped Abenaki's snowshoe technology haven't disappeared. Climate change brings new challenges, but the principles remain the same. Understanding how materials behave in extreme cold, knowing which designs work best in specific snow conditions, recognizing when equipment might fail before it becomes dangerous. Research continues to validate traditional knowledge. Scientists studying weight distribution confirm what Abenaki builders knew instinctively. Engineers testing frame materials find that ash wood properties match exactly what traditional craftspeople selected by touch and experience. The Abenaki nations didn't just survive in one of Earth's harshest environments, they thrived. Their winter knowledge enabled not just individual survival, but the continuation of entire cultures through thousands of years of brutal winters. Their snowshoe innovations spread far beyond their own territories. French explorers adopted Abenaki designs. Military forces studied their techniques. Fur traders depended on traditional knowledge for survival in remote regions. But the heart of this knowledge remained in communities where winter survival was a way of life, where children learned that careless work could mean death, where master craftspeople took pride in creating tools that kept families alive through the darkest months. These harsh survival pressures drove the Abenaki to perfect snowshoe construction techniques, so sophisticated that learning them step by step reveals true engineering genius. Now comes the heart of Abenak's winter survival, learning to build the snowshoes that kept entire communities alive through brutal northeastern winters. These weren't simple tools thrown together in desperation. They were precision survival equipment refined over thousands of years. Picture skilled Abenaki hands selecting materials in the crisp autumn air. Feel the smooth bark of a white ash sapling as experienced fingers test its strength. Hear the snap of perfectly straight wood grain. See steam rising from the bending operations that would shape survival tools for the coming winter. Step 1. Selecting your ash wood. Start with white ash, the king of snowshoe materials. The Abenaki knew that not just any ash would work. Walk through the forest until you find saplings about 2 inches thick with perfectly straight grain. Run your hands along the bark. Good ash feels smooth and firm with no soft spots or insect damage. Construction secret. The ash bending technique creates frames stronger than modern aluminum. White ash has unique wood fibres that actually get stronger when steamed and bent correctly, something modern materials can't match. Cut your saplings in late fall when the sap has gone down. You need pieces about 8 feet long for a full-size snowshoe. Test each piece by bending it slightly. Good ash will flex without cracking. Poor wood will snap or show stress lines immediately. Watch how traditional builders split the ash. They don't saw it. They split it along the natural grain lines. This keeps the wood fibres intact, creating maximum strength. Use a froe and mallet to split your sapling in half lengthwise. Then split each half again until you have 4 long strips about ½ an inch thick. The steaming process comes next. Build a simple steam box, a long wooden box with a pot of boiling water connected by a pipe. Steam your ash strips for about 1 hour per inch of thickness. The wood is ready when it bends easily without breaking. Creating the traditional frame shape. The distinctive Abenaki teardrop shape wasn't random design, it was engineering genius. The pointed front cuts through snow like a ship's bow, the wide middle provides maximum flotation. The narrow tail tracks straight and doesn't catch on brush. Weaving mastery. The specific knot patterns prevented catastrophic failure that meant death in winter conditions. These weren't just knots, they were life insurance tied into every snowshoe. Create your bending form first. Traditional builders used a simple wooden pattern that held the ash while it cooled and set. Bend your steamed ash around this form while it's still hot and flexible. The wood must cool completely in this shape. Rushing this step ruins everything. Secure the frame joints with careful mortise and tenon work. Cut precise notches where the pieces meet at the front and back. These joints carry all the stress of walking, so they must be perfect. Traditional builders use no nails or screws, only perfectly fitted wood joints bound with sinew. Preparing your rawhide, the traditional babiche. The Abenaki called their weaving material babiche, strips of prepared rawhide that became the snowshoe's webbing. This wasn't just any animal hide. Deer and moose provided the best material because their hide had the right combination of strength and flexibility. Start with a fresh hide or one that's been properly preserved. Soak it in clean water for 24 hours to soften it completely. Scrape away all hair and flesh using a sharp scraping tool. The hide must be perfectly clean. Any remaining tissue will rot and weaken your snowshoe. Cut your babiche strips in a continuous spiral, starting from the outside edge and working inward. This gives you incredibly long strips without knots or weak spots. Traditional builders could cut strips 100 feet long from a single deer hide. Keep your strips about 1/4 inch wide for the main webbing, thinner for the detail work. Proportional science. The Abenaki measured frames to exact body weight ratios because its snowshoe size directly affected winter survival. Too small meant sinking and exhaustion. Too large meant clumsy movement and dangerous falls. Test your babiche strength by hanging your full body weight from a single strip. If it holds without stretching excessively, it's ready for weaving. If it breaks or stretches too much, the hide needs more preparation time. Mastering the hexagonal weave pattern. The traditional hexagonal mesh pattern provided optimal weight distribution across the entire snowshoe surface. This wasn't decorative, it was mathematical precision that meant the difference between floating on snow and breaking through. Start your weaving at the back of the snowshoe. Tie your first babiche strip to the frame using a triple half-hitch knot, a traditional knot that actually gets tighter under stress. Work forward in careful rows, creating the hexagonal pattern that distributes weight evenly. Each intersection requires a specific lark's head knot that allows the webbing to flex but not slip. The Abenaki developed dozens of specialized knots, each designed for specific stresses and conditions. Learn these knots until you can tie them in freezing cold with numb fingers. The toe section gets fine, tight weaving for precise control. The middle section uses heavier babiche spaced for maximum flotation. The tail section balances the snowshoe and provides tracking stability. Each area serves a specific function. Assembly genius. The toe hole placement enabled 25-mile winter journeys by allowing natural foot movement while maintaining perfect control. Get this wrong and you'll trip over your own snowshoes within minutes. Keep your babiche slightly damp during weaving. It tightens as it dries, creating the perfect tension. Too tight and the webbing will break under stress. Too loose and it won't support your weight properly. Critical binding attachment points. The toe hole placement determines everything about how your snowshoes perform. Traditional Abenaki placement put the hole slightly forward of centre, allowing your foot to pivot naturally with each step. This prevented the dangerous toe catching that could send you face first into deep snow. Create reinforcement around the toe hole using doubled babiche strips. This area takes tremendous stress with every step. Traditional builders often use sinew here, animal tendon that is even stronger than rawhide for high-stress applications. The heel binding attachment points must flex but never break. Use continuous babiche strips that wrap completely around the frame, distributing stress across the entire back section. Never rely on single attachment points that could fail catastrophically. Modern applications of ancient wisdom. Today's survival instructors teach these exact techniques because they work better than modern alternatives in extreme conditions. Contemporary craftspeople seek out traditional knowledge because mass-produced equipment fails when lives depend on it. Watch modern builders steam bend ash using the same methods Abenaki masters perfected centuries ago. See how they test babiche strength using traditional methods that work better than modern equipment. Feel the connection between ancient wisdom and contemporary application. Wilderness schools across North America teach students to prepare their own babiche because understanding materials creates better craftspeople. Students learn to feel wood quality, to judge hide preparation, to tie knots that won't fuzz at fails in life or death situations. The proportional measurements still work perfectly. A person weighing 150 pounds needs snowshoes about 12 inches wide and 42 inches long. Heavier people need larger shoes. Lighter people can use smaller ones. The ratios the Abenaki developed through trial and error match modern engineering calculations exactly. Quality control and testing. Traditional builders never used untested snowshoes in serious conditions. Every pair got thorough testing in safe conditions before anyone trusted their life to them. Start with short walks in some shallow snow. Gradually increase distance and difficulty as you prove the snowshoe's reliability. Test every knot by pulling on it hard. Check every joint by flexing the frame. Examine every inch of babiche for weak spots or damage. The Abenaki knew that equipment failure 20 miles from camp meant death. There were no second chances. Listen to your snowshoes as you walk. They should sound solid and confident, not creaky or loose. Feel how they respond to your movements. Good snowshoes become extensions of your feet, moving naturally with every step. Check the balance carefully. Properly built snowshoes should feel nose-heavy when you lift them, but perfectly balanced when walking. The tail should track straight behind you without dragging or swinging sideways. Essential repair techniques. Traditional builders always carried repair materials because equipment breaks at the worst possible times. Learn to splice broken babiche using traditional techniques. Practice replacing entire sections of webbing. Master emergency repairs that can be done in freezing conditions with numb fingers. Keep spare babiche strips and sinew in your winter gear. Learn to identify failure points before they become dangerous. Understand which repairs are temporary field fixes and which require complete rebuilding back at camp. The Abenaki developed repair techniques that were often stronger than the original construction. A properly repaired snowshoe could outlast brand new equipment because the repair forced builders to reinforce weak areas they might have missed originally. Frame reinforcement and crossbars. Install crossbars at precisely calculated stress points. The front crossbar prevents the toe from spreading under weight. The rear crossbar maintains the heel shape and provides binding attachment points. Traditional spacing put crossbars at mathematical intervals that distributed stress optimally. Secure crossbars using mortise and tenon joints bound with sinew. These joints must be perfect because they carry the full stress of walking. Poor joints here will cause catastrophic frame failure that cannot be repaired in the field. Test your completed frames by standing on them carefully. They should flex slightly but not creak or show stress. The distinctive teardrop shape should hold perfectly under your full weight. Any frame distortion means weak joints that must be rebuilt. But master Abenaki craftspeople didn't stop with basic construction. They developed advanced variations for every possible winter challenge. Once Abenaki craftspeople mastered basic snowshoe construction, they didn't stop there. True survival demanded specialized tools for every winter challenge imaginable. Master builders developed dozens of variations, each perfectly adapted to specific conditions that could mean the difference between life and death. Picture a winter village where different families specialized in different snowshoe designs. Watch skilled hands modifying traditional patterns for specific purposes. See hunters testing stealth designs in morning mist. Feel the excitement as innovations spread through communities, saving lives with each improvement. Hunting variations. Silent death in deep Sumdispo. Abenaki hunters now did snowshoes that moved like whispers through winter forests. Standard snowshoes worked for travel, but hunting demanded something completely different. The sound of babiche creaking or frames scraping against trees could alert prey from hundreds of yards away. Hunting innovation. Days and silent snowshoes let hunters approach within 20 feet of prey. These specialized designs eliminated every sound that could warn animals, using techniques that modern hunters are just rediscovering. The hunting variations were smaller and narrower than travel snowshoes. Picture frames only 10 inches wide instead of the standard 14. The reduced size meant less noise and better maneuverability through thick brush. Hunters could slip between trees that would snail well larger snowshoes. Master craftspeople modified the weaving patterns for absolute silence. They used finer babiche strips that didn't creak under pressure. The knot patterns were different too, designed to eliminate the small pops and clicks that standard construction created under stress. Watch hunters test their equipment before crucial hunts. They'd walk across different snow conditions, listening for any sound that might betray them. A single creak could mean the difference between feeding their family and going hungry through a harsh winter. The toe shapes were specialized for hunting techniques. Some hunters preferred rounded toes that pushed through brush without catching. Others used pointed designs that cut silently through crusted snow. Each hunter worked with craftspeople to create tools matched to their hunting stinumpai. Deep powder models, floating on winter's fury. When snow accumulated 8 feet deep in mountain valleys, standard snowshoes became useless. The Abenaki developed oversized designs that distributed weight across massive surface areas, allowing travel through powder that would swallow a person completely. Deep snow mastery. These designs worked in 8-foot powder drifts where others failed completely. Modern backcountry skiers pay thousands of pounds for equipment that can't match what Abenaki builders created from forest materials. The deep powder models stretched up to 6 feet long and 18 inches wide. That's massive compared to standard snowshoes, but the size was essential for extreme conditions. The math of weight distribution demanded that much surface area to prevent breaking through. Picture the specialized weaving these giants required. Traditional babiche wasn't strong enough for frames this large, so craftspeople used heavier materials. Moose hide provided the strength needed, while maintaining the flexibility that made the snowshoes functional. The frame construction required different techniques too. Standard bending methods couldn't create frames this large without weak spots. Master builders developed reinforcement techniques using multiple layers of ashwood, laminated together with pine resin adhesives. Testing these massive snowshoes required special conditions. Builders waited for the deepest powder storms to prove their designs. Success meant the difference between communities surviving isolated winters or being trapped by impossible snow conditions. Ice travel adaptations, crossing frozen highways. Frozen lakes and rivers became winter highways for the Abenaki, but ice travel demanded specialized equipment. Standard snowshoes performed poorly on slick ice, and dangerous falls could punch through thin spots with deadly results. Ice adaptation. The binding system prevented deadly falls through thin ice. These modifications detected dangerous ice conditions through foot feedback that could save your life. The ice travel modifications focused on the bindings rather than the frames themselves. Standard bindings held feet too rigidly, preventing the subtle movements needed to detect dangerous ice conditions. Specialized bindings allowed more foot movement while maintaining control. Watch experienced travelers test ice conditions with specialized foot movements. The modified bindings let them feel ice quality through their snowshoes, detecting thin spots, air pockets, and stress fractures that could cause catastrophic failures. Some ice travel snowshoes incorporated rough surfaces on the bottom to improve traction. Craftspeople attached pieces of rough textured materials that gripped slick ice without adding dangerous weight. The goal was preventing falls while maintaining the ability to move quickly across vast frozen distances. Emergency ice techniques included rapid binding release systems. If someone broke through ice, they needed to get out of their snowshoes instantly to avoid being dragged down. Thus, specialized bindings could be released with specific movements even while wearing thick winter mitts. Regional differences, adapting to local conditions. Different Abenaki communities developed distinct snowshoe styles adapted to their specific environments. Mountain communities needed different designs than river valley groups. Coastal peoples faced different challenges than inland populations. The Western Abenaki living in Vermont's mountains developed frames optimized for steep terrain and deep mountain snow. Their designs were longer and narrower, perfect for following ridgelines and navigating steep slopes without losing control. Eastern Abenaki communities near the coast dealt with different conditions: wet, heavy snow and rapid temperature changes. Their snowshoes used different weaving patterns that shed wet snow, instead of accumulating ice that added dangerous weight. Picture the knowledge sharing between communities. Successful innovations spread through trading networks, with each group adapting new ideas to their specific conditions. Design that worked perfectly in mountain conditions might need modifications for coastal use. The Wabanaki Confederacy enabled this knowledge sharing on a massive scale. Innovations developed by Penobscot craftspeople could reach Abenaki builders hundreds of miles away. This collaboration accelerated improvements across all participating communities. Seasonal modifications, tools for changing conditions. Abenaki builders didn't use the same snowshoes year-round. Different seasons demanded different equipment as snow conditions changed dramatically from early winter through late spring. Early winter snowshoes were built for light, fluffy snow that provided good flotation. The weaving patterns were more open, allowing snow to pass through instead of accumulating on top. This prevented dangerous weight buildup during long travels. Deep winter models used tighter weaving patterns for the packed snow conditions that developed after months of accumulation. The firmer snow supported different walking techniques, and the snowshoes were optimized for efficiency rather than pure flotation. Late winter and spring conditions demanded completely different approaches. Wet, heavy snow and freeze-thaw cycles created challenging conditions that destroyed many snowshoes. Seasonal modifications included different materials and construction techniques that handled moisture better. Watch craftspeople preparing for seasonal transitions. They'd modify existing snowshoes rather than building completely new ones. Changing weaving patterns, adjusting bindings, and reinforcing stress points extended equipment life through multiple seasons. Master craftsmanship, art meets survival. The most skilled Abenaki builders didn't just create functional equipment, they developed true artistry that enhanced performance. Decorative elements weren't just beautiful, they often served functional purposes that improved the snowshoe's effectiveness. Master craftspeople developed signature techniques that were passed down through generations. Specific weaving patterns, distinctive frame shapes, and unique binding systems identified this maker and guaranteed quality that communities trusted with their lives. The decorative elements told stories while improving function. Specific patterns might represent family histories, seasonal knowledge, or successful hunting techniques. The decoration became a way of preserving and sharing survival knowledge. Watch master builders selecting materials with incredible precision. They could judge ashwood quality by touch, identify the best rawhide by smell, and predict how materials would perform under extreme stress. This knowledge took decades to develop. The most advanced techniques produced snowshoes so perfectly balanced they felt weightless while walking. The frame proportions, weaving tension, and binding placement were calculated to match the user's specific body mechanics and intended use. Modern applications of advanced techniques. Today's wilderness professionals study these advanced variations because they solve problems that modern equipment can't match. Specialized hunting guides seek out traditional stealth techniques. Mountain rescue teams examine deep powder innovations. Military trainers research ice travel adaptations. Contemporary craftspeople are rediscovering regional variations that were nearly lost. Museums and cultural centers preserve examples of specialized designs, inspiring modern builders to recreate advanced techniques for specific applications. Professional snowshoe manufacturers study traditional proportions and construction methods. Some modern designs incorporate ancient innovations that perform better than contemporary materials in extreme conditions. Survival instructors teach advanced modification techniques because students might need to adapt equipment in emergency situations. Understanding the principles behind specialized variations enables creative problem-solving when lives depend on it. These advanced Abenaki innovations were so effective that modern experts and researchers have spent decades trying to understand their superiority. The ancient wisdom of Abenaki snowshoe construction didn't disappear when modern equipment arrived. Instead, something remarkable happened. Today's most skilled professionals began rediscovering why traditional methods often work better than modern alternatives. From military training centres to wilderness schools, experts are learning that older doesn't mean outdated. Picture modern laboratories where scientists test traditional snowshoe designs alongside the latest equipment. Watch military instructors teaching construction techniques that indigenous peoples perfected centuries ago. See wilderness guides choosing traditional methods over expensive modern gear because they know what actually works when lives are on the line. Military applications, when survival matters most. At the US Army Northern Warfare Training Center in Alaska, soldiers learn the snowshoe techniques that trace directly back to indigenous innovations. The military doesn't teach these methods out of historical curiosity. They teach them because they save lives in conditions where modern equipment fails. Military usage. Special forces units learn traditional snowshoe construction in survival training because when you're behind enemy lines in winter, you can't order replacement parts. You need skills that work with materials you can find in any northern forest. The cold weather orientation course includes specific training on snowshoe construction and use. Military personnel learn to move efficiently on snowshoes, understand different snow conditions, and most importantly, build emergency snowshoes using traditional techniques when equipment is lost or destroyed. Watch soldiers at Fort Greely learning to steam bend ashwood and weave babiche strips. These aren't historical demonstrations. This is practical survival training. Military instructors know that modern equipment has failure points that traditional construction doesn't. Metal frames crack in extreme cold, synthetic materials become brittle, and complex bindings jam with ice. Special operations units train in Sweden and other Arctic environments where traditional knowledge becomes essential. They learn to move silently on traditional snowshoes, build emergency equipment from forest materials, and understand why indigenous peoples develop specific techniques for survival in harsh conditions. The military's adoption of traditional methods validates thousands of years of indigenous innovation. When elite fighting forces choose ancient techniques over modern alternatives, it's because they've proven superior in real-world conditions, where failure means death. Wilderness schools, teaching ancient skills. Professional wilderness schools across North America now teach traditional snowshoe construction as core curriculum. Jack Mountain Bushcraft School in Maine offers expedition-based training where students live and travel using traditional methods for weeks at a time. Scientific proof, engineering studies confirm what the Abenaki always knew. Traditional weight distribution principles work better than many modern designs. Research shows that traditional snowshoe geometry provides superior flotation in deep powder conditions. The North House Folk School in Minnesota teaches traditional construction techniques to students who pay thousands of dollars to learn skills that Abenaki children mastered by age 10. These aren't hobbyists. Many students are professional guides, outdoor educators, and send emergency responders who need reliable winter survival skills. Tim Smith, a registered Master Maine Guide, has taught traditional techniques for over 20 years through the Jack Mountain Bushcraft School. His students include military personnel, search and rescue teams, and wilderness professionals who understand that traditional knowledge often exceeds modern alternatives. Professional instructors like Nate Johnson demonstrate why traditional materials and methods work better in specific conditions. They show students how ashwood outperforms aluminum frames in extreme cold, how traditional bindings provide better feel and control, and why babiche webbing lasts longer than synthetic materials. These schools don't teach traditional methods as historical curiosities. They teach them because professionals need skills that work when modern equipment fails. Students learn to identify good ashwood, prepare their own babiche, and construct snowshoes that will keep them alive in emergency situations. Scientific validation, proving ancient wisdom. Modern researchers have conducted detailed studies on snowshoe biomechanics and weight distribution, confirming principles that indigenous peoples understood intuitively. The science behind snowshoes revolves around distributing weight over larger surface areas, reducing pressure on snow surfaces. Research published in academic journals shows how traditional snowshoe designs optimize energy efficiency during locomotion across snow. Studies comparing different snowshoe types reveal that traditional proportions and materials often perform better than modern alternatives in specific conditions. Scientists at universities study the mathematical principles behind traditional snowshoe construction. They've discovered that indigenous builders use sophisticated understanding of weight distribution, material properties, and biomechanics to create tools that modern engineering can barely improve upon. Expert validation. Garrett Conover, author of The Snowwalker's Companion, spent decades comparing traditional and modern equipment. His conclusion: traditional snowshoes provide superior performance for wilderness travel and the winter camping. Laboratory analysis of traditional materials reveals why they work so well. Ash wood provides an optimal combination of strength, flexibility, and weight that synthetic materials struggle to match. Properly prepared babiche has tensile strength and elasticity properties that make it ideal for snowshoe construction. Research on energy expenditure during snowshoeing shows that traditional designs often require less energy than modern alternatives. The biomechanics of walking with traditional snowshoes align better with natural human movement patterns, reducing fatigue during long-distance travel. Professional testimonials, real-world validation. Professional wilderness guides consistently choose traditional snowshoes for serious winter travel. Bill Novacek, who builds traditional snowshoes in New Hampshire, says ash wood is simply the best material because it tends to bend better than most woods, while being relatively light and strong. Dave Marone, a wilderness guide specializing in winter travel, declares that traditional snowshoes are lighter, more comfortable, and have better float than modern designs. He notes research that traditional snowshoes don't slip into the snow like modern aluminum frames do. Master Maine guides with decades of experience consistently recommend traditional construction methods for students who need reliable winter travel skills. These professionals have tested every type of equipment available and consistently return to traditional designs for serious wilderness use. The Woodsman School and Guide Service teaches traditional snowshoe construction because instructors know these methods work better than modern alternatives in many conditions. Students learn not historical techniques, but practical skills they'll use in professional guiding careers. Professional recommendations carry weight because these guides stake their reputations and their clients' safety on equipment choices. When someone guides people through dangerous winter conditions for a living, they choose equipment they trust completely. Research documentation, academic validation. Academic institutions now study traditional indigenous knowledge systems as sophisticated technologies rather than primitive crafts. Universities document construction techniques, material properties, and design principles that took generations to perfect. Research frameworks developed by indigenous scholars validate traditional knowledge through modern scientific methods. Studies show that traditional snowshoe construction incorporates complex understanding of materials, science, biomechanics, and environmental adaptation. The National Museum of the American Indian preserves traditional snowshoes as examples of advanced indigenous technology. Museum collections document the incredible craftsmanship and engineering sophistication that traditional builders achieved, using only hand tools and natural materials. Cambridge University Press published extensive research on indigenous winter ecologies, including detailed analysis of traditional snowshoe construction and use. This academic validation confirms that traditional knowledge represents sophisticated understanding of winter survival technology. Contemporary research validates specific aspects of traditional construction: optimal wood selection, proper material preparation, effective weaving patterns, and proportional calculations that match individual users' needs. Modern science confirms what traditional builders knew through generations of experience. Integration into modern training. Today's most advanced survival training programs integrate traditional knowledge with modern understanding. Students learn why specific techniques work, not just how to perform them. This combination of ancient wisdom and contemporary analysis creates more skilled practitioners. Professional development programs for wilderness educators now include traditional knowledge components. Instructors learn to teach both historical techniques and the scientific principles that make them effective. Emergency response training increasingly includes traditional construction methods because responders need skills that work when modern equipment is unavailable. Search and rescue teams learn to build emergency snowshoes from forest materials using techniques perfected over thousands of years. The integration of traditional knowledge into modern professional training validates indigenous innovation, while providing practical skills that save lives. This represents proper respect for traditional knowledge, using it because it works, not just preserving it as historical curiosity. These scientific validations and professional endorsements provide the foundation for understanding why traditional Abenaki snowshoe construction remains relevant today. But knowing the science is just the beginning. Next comes learning how to apply this knowledge in your own winter adventures. Ready to bring ancient Abenaki snowshoe wisdom into your modern life? The path from learning to mastering these traditional skills requires careful planning, proper safety measures, and deep respect for the knowledge you're gaining. Here's your complete guide to implementing these time-tested techniques safely and effectively. Picture yourself in a well-organized workshop, quality materials laid out carefully, safety equipment within easy reach. Feel the satisfaction of working with your hands to create tools that connect you directly to thousands of years of indigenous innovation. This is where ancient wisdom meets modern application. Modern material sourcing, finding authentic supplies. Start with ash wood, the foundation of traditional snowshoe construction. Several reputable suppliers specialize in materials for traditional crafters. Iverson's Snowshoes in Michigan's Upper Peninsula has been handcrafting traditional snowshoes for over 60 years using properly selected ash wood. Countryways in Maine offers pre-made ash frames that are hand-selected, steam-bent and dried according to traditional methods. These frames save beginners the most challenging part of construction while maintaining authentic materials and proportions. Safety reality. The one construction mistake that causes dangerous field failures is inadequate joint testing. Traditional builders always stress-tested every connection because a broken snowshoe 20 miles from help meant death. For rawhide, sources like GV snowshoes provide authentic babiches made from deer and moose hide prepared using traditional methods. Northern Toboggan Company processes their own rawhide webbing, maintaining the quality standards that traditional craftspeople demanded. Vintage Winter offers complete materials including pre-cut babiche strips and proper binding materials. Their white ash comes from sustainably harvested Appalachian sources, ensuring both quality and environmental responsibility. Online suppliers like Etsy connect you with individual craftspeople who prepare traditional materials in small batches. This often provides the highest quality materials while supporting artisans who maintain traditional skills. Modern alternatives exist for practice projects. Synthetic rawhide substitute materials let beginners learn weaving techniques without using expensive authentic materials. Once you've mastered the basics, transition to real babiche for functional snowshoes. Safety protocols, protecting yourself. During construction. Traditional snowshoe construction involves several activities that require careful safety measures. Steam bending operations use boiling water and require proper ventilation to prevent burns from hot steam. Always wear safety glasses when working with steam to protect your eyes from vapor and potential splashing. Sourcing solution. Finding authentic materials legally requires understanding forest product permits. Many national forests allow personal use harvesting of ash wood with proper permits, but you must follow specific guidelines about tree selection and harvesting methods. Woodworking safety standards apply throughout construction. Wear safety glasses when cutting, sanding, or shaping wood. Use dust masks during sanding operations to protect your lungs from fine particles. Keep first aid supplies readily available for treating minor cuts or splinters. Sharp tool safety becomes critical when working with traditional hand tools. Crooked knives and draw knives require proper handling techniques to prevent injuries. Always cut away from your body, secure your work properly, and maintain sharp edges. Dull tools are more dangerous than sharp ones. Test every joint and connection thoroughly before trusting your life to finished snowshoes. Traditional builders developed specific tests for frame strength, webbing tension, and joint integrity. Modern practitioners should apply even more rigorous testing since lives still depend on equipment reliability. Steam bending requires temperature monitoring to prevent overheating that weakens wood fibres. Use a thermometer to maintain proper steam temperature and timing. Oversteamed wood becomes weak and brittle, while understeamed wood won't bend properly and may crack. Progressive skill development, mastering traditional techniques. Begin with simple projects that teach basic skills without requiring perfect execution. North House Folk School offers 3-day workshops where beginners complete their first pair of snowshoes under expert supervision. This structured learning environment provides the support needed for initial success. Skill progression. Master construction in just 3 winter sessions by following traditional learning patterns. First winter, learn materials and basic techniques. Second winter, build your first complete pair. Third winter, develop advanced skills and regional variations. Start your first winter with material preparation skills, learn to identify good ash wood, understand proper harvesting, timing, and practice basic wood preparation techniques. Spend time working with rawhide, learning to judge quality and prepare strips properly. Practice steam bending on scrap wood before attempting frame construction. Develop feel for proper temperature, time intending, and bending techniques. Many beginners rush this step and ruin expensive materials through inexperience. Master basic hand tool techniques before attempting complex construction. Traditional tools like crooked knives and draw knives require specific skills that take time to develop. Practice on simple projects until tool handling becomes natural. Second winter, focus on completing your first functional pair of snowshoes. Choose a simple design that emphasizes proper technique over complex features. Concentrate on frame construction, basic weaving patterns, and reliable binding systems. Third winter, expand into advanced techniques and specialized applications. Experiment with different sizes, regional variations, and specialized features. Develop repair skills and emergency construction techniques. Troubleshooting guide, solving common problems. Frame cracking during bending indicates several possible problems. Wood may be too dry, steam temperature might be incorrect, or bending may be rushed. Solution: ensure proper wood moisture content, monitor steam temperature carefully, and allow sufficient steaming time. Webbing tension problems create snowshoes that don't perform properly. Too tight webbing restricts flexibility and may break under stress. Too loose webbing doesn't provide adequate support. Solution: learn to test tension by feel and adjust during construction. Joint failures occur when mortise and tenon connections are improperly cut or insufficiently secured. Traditional builders achieved perfect joint fit through careful measurement and gradual fitting. Modern practitioners should take extra time ensuring proper joint geometry. Binding attachment problems cause dangerous failures during use. Weak attachment points may fail under stress, potentially causing falls or equipment loss. Solution: use continuous babiche wrapping around entire frame sections rather than relying on single attachment points. Seasonal material behavior changes can surprise beginners. Rawhide tightens as it dries and stretches when wet. Ash wood responds to humidity changes. Understanding these behaviors prevents construction problems and enables proper maintenance. Legal considerations: ethical material sourcing. Forest product permits allow legal harvesting of ash wood on public lands. Bureau of Land Management and National Forest Service lands often permit personal use collection with proper permits. Contact local offices for specific regulations and seasonal restrictions. Private land harvesting requires explicit landowner permission. Trespassing laws apply even when collecting natural materials. Always obtain written permission and respect property boundaries and restrictions. Wildlife regulations affect rawhide sourcing if you process your own materials. Hunting licenses and seasons apply to obtaining deer or moose hides. Processing roadkill may require special permits depending on state regulations. Traditional knowledge use carries ethical responsibilities beyond legal requirements. Indigenous intellectual property rights deserve respect even when not legally protected. Approach traditional knowledge with humility and acknowledgement of its cultural origins. Practice recommendations, safe learning. Environment: start construction in controlled indoor environments with proper lighting, ventilation and safety equipment. Outdoor construction introduces variables that can compromise safety and quality during learning. Phases: join local crafting groups or find mentors experienced in traditional construction. Individual learning is possible, but group environments provide safety support and shared knowledge that accelerates skill development. Begin testing in safe conditions with minimal risk. Test initial snowshoes in shallow snow close to shelter before attempting longer or more challenging excursions. Gradually increase difficulty as equipment proves reliable. Develop maintenance and repair skills alongside construction abilities. Field repairs may be necessary during extended trips. Practice common repairs until they become automatic even in cold conditions with numbed fingers. Document your learning process through photos, notes, and measurements. Traditional knowledge transfer relied on careful observation and memory. Modern learners can enhance this with documentation that aids future construction projects. Community learning opportunities. Wilderness schools offer structured learning environments with expert instruction. Programs like Jack Mountain Bushcraft School provide comprehensive traditional skills education, including snowshoe construction, within broader wilderness living contexts. Museum workshops often teach the traditional construction techniques as educational programming. These programs typically focus on cultural preservation and provide authentic instruction methods while supporting indigenous knowledge preservation. Online communities connect traditional craft practitioners worldwide. Forums and social media groups share techniques, troubleshooting advice, and material sources. However, hands-on instruction remains essential for developing proper skills. Indigenous cultural centres occasionally offer workshops taught by knowledge keepers who maintain traditional skills. These programs provide authentic instruction while supporting cultural preservation efforts and community education, connecting traditional and modern applications. Modern outdoor recreation benefits tremendously from traditional snowshoe knowledge. Backcountry travellers, winter campers, and emergency responders can all apply traditional techniques to enhance their capabilities and equipment reliability. Emergency preparedness applications make traditional construction skills valuable for modern survival planning. Knowledge of improvised construction techniques using natural materials provides backup options when modern equipment fails. Professional development opportunities exist for skilled traditional craftspeople. Wilderness education, historical interpretation, and cultural preservation programs need instructors with authentic traditional skills. As you develop these skills, it's crucial to understand the cultural heritage and responsibility that comes with learning traditional Abenaki knowledge. Learning traditional Abenaki snowshoe construction carries responsibilities that extend far beyond personal skill development. You're not just mastering ancient techniques. You're connecting with living cultural knowledge that continues to sustain Indigenous communities today. This knowledge comes with obligations of respect, attribution, and support for the peoples who developed and preserved it. Picture contemporary Abenaki knowledge keepers working in community centres, their skilled hands demonstrating techniques passed down through generations. See young people learning from elders in cultural programs designed to keep traditions alive. Feel the weight of responsibility that comes with being entrusted with knowledge that represents thousands of years of innovation and survival. Proper cultural attribution, honouring the source. Every technique you learn, every skill you develop, every snowshoe you construct builds upon the intellectual achievements of Abenaki peoples. These innovations didn't emerge from wilderness experimentation. They represent the collective genius of communities who refined survival technologies over millennia. The Abenaki Arts and Education Centre works to ensure proper attribution of traditional knowledge in educational settings. Their mission emphasises providing authentic cultural experiences while maintaining respect for the peoples who created and preserved these skills. Cultural reality. Supporting living Abenaki communities matters more than historical knowledge because culture is not a museum artefact. It's a living, breathing force that continues to evolve and contribute to modern society. When sharing knowledge about traditional snowshoe construction, always acknowledge its Abenaki origins. Don't present these techniques as generic Native American or indigenous knowledge. Be specific. These are Abenaki innovations developed by specific peoples in specific places for specific survival challenges. The Nulligan Band of the Kusuk Abenaki Nation maintains active cultural preservation programs that demonstrate how traditional knowledge continues to serve contemporary communities. Their work shows that honouring origins means recognising ongoing cultural vitality, not just historical contributions. Contemporary Abenaki artists and educators actively teach traditional skills as part of cultural preservation efforts. Organisations like the Vermont Abenaki Artists Association connect communities with authentic knowledge holders who maintain traditional skills as living practice, not historical recreation. Ethical guidelines, respectful learning and sharing. Learning. Traditional knowledge carries ethical obligations that go beyond simple cultural appreciation. Indigenous intellectual property rights recognise that traditional peoples maintain ongoing relationships with knowledge systems they developed and preserved. The United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples affirms that Indigenous communities have the right to maintain, control, protect and develop their cultural heritage, traditional knowledge and traditional cultural expressions. This means approaching traditional knowledge with respect for ongoing cultural ownership. Preservation urgency. Traditional knowledge is being lost faster than it can be documented. Each elder who passes away takes irreplaceable understanding with them. Every person who learns and properly shares traditional skills helps preserve knowledge for future generations. Respectful learning means understanding appropriate context for using traditional techniques. While snowshoe construction skills can enhance your outdoor capabilities, remember that you're using knowledge developed by peoples who faced life or death survival challenges in harsh environments. Share knowledge responsibly by always providing proper attribution and encouraging others to learn about contemporary Abenaki communities. Don't present yourself as an expert on traditional knowledge. Acknowledge your role as a respectful learner who benefits from Indigenous innovation. Support cultural preservation by connecting with organisations that maintain traditional knowledge as living practice. The Abenaki Nation at Missisquoi operates cultural programs that teach traditional skills while supporting community development and cultural continuity. Supporting contemporary communities. Beyond historical appreciation. Contemporary Abenaki communities face ongoing challenges while working to preserve and revitalise cultural traditions. Supporting these communities means engaging with their current needs and contributions, not just appreciating their historical innovations. Abenaki Health and Heritage works to improve community health through cultural sharing and culturally appropriate programming. Supporting such organisations helps ensure that traditional knowledge continues to benefit the communities that developed and preserved it. The Nulhegan Band operates cultural preservation programs that teach traditional skills like Three Sisters gardening alongside snowshoe construction. These programs demonstrate how traditional knowledge systems work together to support community well-being and cultural continuity. Educational partnerships between Abenaki communities and institutions create opportunities for authentic knowledge sharing. Lake Champlain Sea Grant supports Chief Don Stevens from the Nulhegan Abenaki tribe to share Indigenous knowledge through educational programming that benefits broader communities while supporting cultural preservation. Contemporary Abenaki contributions extend far beyond historical innovations. Communities actively contribute to environmental stewardship, educational programming, cultural preservation, and community development throughout the Northeastern region. Knowledge keeper recognition, honouring living traditions. Traditional knowledge doesn't exist in books or museums. It lives in the minds and hands of knowledge keepers who maintain skills as living practice. These individuals deserve recognition and support for their crucial work preserving cultural heritage. Abenaki women serve as culture bearers and knowledge keepers, maintaining traditional skills while adapting them for contemporary needs. Their work ensures that traditional knowledge remains relevant and accessible to new generations of learners. Elders and traditional knowledge holders face the challenge of passing complex skills to younger generations in a rapidly changing world. Supporting their efforts means recognizing the time, dedication, and expertise required to maintain traditional knowledge systems. Cultural centres and community organisations provide the platforms for knowledge keepers to share traditional skills with broader audiences. Supporting these institutions helps ensure that knowledge transmission continues beyond individual relationships to reach communities that can benefit from traditional wisdom. The critical role of cultural continuity. Traditional knowledge preservation isn't about maintaining museum pieces, it's about supporting living cultures that continue to innovate and contribute to contemporary society. Abenaki communities demonstrate this through ongoing cultural programming, educational initiatives, and community development efforts. Modern preservation efforts focus on maintaining traditional knowledge as dynamic, evolving systems rather than fixed historical artifacts. This approach recognizes that cultures grow and adapt while maintaining core values and practices. Your role as a learner includes supporting the ongoing vitality of traditional knowledge systems. This means engaging with contemporary communities, supporting cultural programming and recognizing traditional knowledge as valuable intellectual property that deserves respect and protection. With this foundation of respect and understanding, you're ready to take action and begin your own journey with traditional snowshoe construction. The moment has arrived. You've discovered the incredible engineering genius behind Abenaki Snowshoe construction. You've learned about the communities that developed and preserved this knowledge. You understand the responsibilities that come with traditional wisdom. Now it's time to take action and begin your own hands-on journey with these time-tested survival techniques. Picture yourself next winter, confidently striding through deep snow on snowshoes you built with your own hands. Feel the connection to thousands of years of indigenous innovation beneath your feet. See the respect in other outdoor enthusiasts' eyes when they learn you've mastered traditional construction techniques that most people have never even heard of. Immediate action steps start this weekend. Action urgency. Your first snowshoe construction challenge starts this weekend. Don't wait for perfect conditions or complete preparation. Begin with simple material gathering and basic skill practice that build your foundation immediately. Begin by sourcing your first materials. Contact established suppliers like Country Ways, Iverson Snowshoes, or Vintage Winter to order ash wood strips and babiche for practice projects. While waiting for materials, start developing hand tool skills using readily available wood scraps. Visit your local library and request books about traditional snowshoe construction. Building Snowshoes and Snowshoe Furniture by Gil Gilpatrick provides excellent beginner guidance. The Vermont History Explorer website lists additional resources specifically focused on Abenaki traditional knowledge. Start following online communities where traditional skills enthusiasts share knowledge and troubleshooting advice. The /bushcraft subreddit maintains active discussions about traditional snowshoe construction. Folkcraft Revival offers detailed tutorials and progress documentation from experienced builders. Practice basic weaving techniques using rope or cord before working with expensive babiche materials. Master the fundamental knots and patterns on practice materials that don't cost much if you make mistakes. Community engagement. Join thousands, learning together, community power. Join thousands of people learning traditional skills together through workshops, online forums, and skill-sharing events that turn individual learning into collective knowledge building. Register for hands-on workshops that provide expert instruction and proper tool access. Northhouse Folk School in Minnesota offers multi-day snowshoe construction courses where you'll complete your first pair under professional guidance. Hal Bushcraft provides one-day workshops perfect for busy schedules. Connect with Heritage Skills USA events that bring together traditional skills enthusiasts from across the country. These gatherings offer workshops, demonstrations, and networking opportunities with people who share your passion for preserving ancient wisdom. Join online communities like the BWCA forums, where experienced practitioners share advice about traditional snowshoe use in real wilderness conditions. These communities provide ongoing support as you develop skills and tackle increasingly challenging projects. Expanding your heritage knowledge. Traditional snowshoe construction opens doors to broader Abenaki seasonal knowledge systems. The Nulhegan Band of the Kusuk Abenaki Nation teaches traditional skills like Three Sisters gardening alongside winter survival techniques. Explore how different seasonal knowledge systems connect to create complete traditional living approaches. The Abenaki Arts and Education Centre provides resources for deeper cultural learning that goes beyond individual skills to encompass the broader knowledge systems that sustained entire communities through challenging environments. Vermont Abenaki Artists Association offers educational programs that present 13,000 years of Abenaki cultural knowledge in structured learning formats. These programs show how traditional skills fit into comprehensive cultural systems. Your heritage learning journey continues. Master traditional snowshoe construction, and you'll have opened a gateway to broader traditional knowledge systems. Consider learning traditional shelter construction, fire-making techniques, food preservation methods, and seasonal navigation skills that complement your snowshoe abilities. Each skill you master makes you more self-reliant, while connecting you more deeply to the wisdom of peoples who lived completely integrated with natural environments. This knowledge becomes increasingly valuable as modern systems face environmental and economic challenges. Share your learning journey responsibly by always acknowledging the Abenaki origins of this knowledge and supporting contemporary indigenous communities that maintain traditional wisdom as living practice. The Abenaki mastered winter survival for 4,000 years. Now it's your turn to carry their ingenious innovations forward into the modern world.